What if I told you that you could maintain a tidy home without spending all day cleaning, purchasing new items, or feeling worn out? I want to talk about the calm routines of an 80-year-old woman who lives alone in a modest American suburb today. She has no assistants. She doesn't own any technology, but her house is always tidy and serene. She's learned to live lightly at any age, not because she's Japanese or because it's a cultural secret. Japan and America are not being compared here. It has to do with what we all desire as we become older. A peaceful environment, a feeling of mastery, and an adequate living. If you've ever wanted your house to feel more straightforward, if you're feeling overburdened by clutter, these 7 tiny habits could make a big difference. Now let's get started. I didn't anticipate anything noteworthy when I initially went to Naro's house. It was a quiet street, a little house, and an elderly sighting. However, something changed as soon as I entered. My breathing became softer. There was more to the quiet. It was reassuring. It seemed as though the house itself had been anticipating her return every day. There was a subtle sense of order instead of disarray and mountains of things to finish later. Just present, not flawless, not ostentatious. The direction of her slippers was the entrance. The living room seemed to know its purpose, to allow her to relax rather than hurry. And the tea towels were folded nicely. That sensation didn't originate from funds or a fresh makeover. It originated from concern. Calm, consistent, daily care. And this was what really got to me. Naro never claimed to be a constant cleaner. She simply had routines that made her house feel cozy. Habits that did not exhaust her. Habits that were independent of her energy level or age. That's when I realized this video isn't about decorating advice. It's about something more profound. The way we use our space gradually affects how we feel within it. Let's examine the first habit now. You'll see why her house feels the way it does when you give it a try, even if it might seem easy. Have you ever searched for your keys for 10 minutes only to discover them in a coat you haven't put on in a long time? Naro never did. Every single thing in her house has a single, straightforward rule. It has a location to go back to. The remote control was always positioned in the same table corner. The direction of her footwear was always the same. The towel was centered on the rack as well. Silently, purposefully. She grinned and replied, "No, I just bring things back home," when I asked if she spent hours every day organizing. That statement stuck with me because I realized that turmoil wasn't the main source of my own disarray. It resulted from small choices that were overlooked. Nothing significant. A cup left next to the sink. A coat tossed over a chair. Mail that sat on the table for days, however, when combined, they created noise. Mental, emotional, and visual. Naro didn't battle clutter. She kept it from ever gaining traction. When things don't belong, they feel lost, just like people, she stated. They rest if you offer them a place. You also do. I gave it a shot. One minor adjustment. After every use, put the remote back in its original location. Strangely enough, that small habit lightened my mood. No seeing, no forgetting, no accumulation of quiet annoyance. Because accomplishing more is not the goal of being organized. Letting less slip away is the key. Therefore, consider this before assuming that being neat requires work. Are the items in my house aware of their proper places? If not, the following habit could be even more beneficial, particularly if you frequently put off little chores and convince yourself, "I'll get to it later." It was only a small sip of tea. Noriko got up to give us more. She didn't hesitate or groan when a tiny splash hit the table. She simply picked up a cloth, gently wiped it, and returned to her seat, as if nothing had occurred. I inquired to her, "Why not just leave it and clean everything later?" "I do it now, if it takes less than a minute," she muttered. "That way, it's lighter." It wasn't a regulation. It was a manner of being, a rhythm. That identical drop of tea would have remained in my own life, so I started to understand what she meant. The next cup, the lunch plate, the unopened mail, and then all of a sudden, the entire table seemed heavy. I did the same. We frequently tell ourselves, "I'll do it later." However, later doesn't come easily. According to Noro, it is accompanied by clutter, remorse, and the silent weight of incomplete tasks. I dislike having small chores to complete before bed. I gently do them one by one before letting them go. It was a lesson in and of itself, because tidying isn't the only thing involved. It's about keeping your thoughts safe. Our energy gets more valuable as we get older. Furthermore, having a mental to-do list with you all the time simply makes the days seem longer. I'm trying it now, too. If it's less than a minute, the house remains cleaner if you wipe, fold, rinse, and return it. More significantly, though, I do. The entire kitchen doesn't need to be clean. Just give that 1 cup a rinse. Avoid folding every piece of laundry. Simply smooth the cloth. If that still seems excessive, wait until you learn about the next habit, which requires even less of you. Just 5 calm minutes before bed. I got up to say goodbye at the end of our visit, but Noriko held up a soft hand and murmured, "Just a moment. I have to get the day done." She entered the kitchen. No worry, no hurry. She cleaned the table, rinsed 2 teacups, and put the snacks away in 5 peaceful minutes. It made the chairs we had just used straight. Then she grinned, a contented smile instead of a weary one. She now declared that the day was over. It had nothing to do with cleaning. It had to do with shutting. "I don't wait for the house to get untidy before cleaning," she told me. "Before I go to sleep, I simply bring it back to serenity." Abruptly, I recognized myself. I had left dishes in the wash basin for how many nights? How many times had I told myself that I will deal with it tomorrow, only to find yesterday's mess in the kitchen when I woke up? I was starting every day behind schedule without even realizing it. Noro has no intention of becoming flawless. She was only laying the groundwork. In order for her to every morning as she opened her eyes, her space said, "You're ready. You've started already." In actuality, 5 minutes isn't much. 1 spotless counter, 1 washed cup, and 1 chair repositioned. For peace, not for beauty. We may not have the strength to do a thorough cleaning as seniors, but 5 peaceful minutes will do. Everybody still has that. I've given it a try since then. I choose only 3 little tasks to do before going to bed. And the following morning, I feel ready, not just the house. You might be surprised by Noro's next habit if you're thinking, "But my home feels too small, too mixed up, too crowded," because it has nothing to do with having more room. Giving each area a distinct voice is crucial. As I strolled about Noriko's house one day, I spotted something that seemed odd in the finest manner. Every area had a purpose. Meals were the sole function of the dining table. No phones, no unread mail, no strewn papers. There was a tea table, a chair, and a few cherished books neatly arranged on a shelf in the living room. Just simply fill the space, no decorations or clutter. I said, "Don't you ever run out of places to put things?" "I don't need more places," she remarked with a smile. "I only need to know the purpose of each location." Easy yet effective. Because my own house sprang to mind. My workspace was now the couch. My laptop was on the kitchen counter. The dining table served as storage. All of a sudden, I understood why my home never seemed peaceful. A place loses its tranquility when it no longer serves a purpose. Your body forgets what it's supposed to do when you mix eating, resting, and working in the same place. Noro clarified. However, you safeguard your own rhythm if you preserve the function of each place. That really resonated with me because many of us, particularly as we age, begin to feel disoriented both emotionally and physically. The house is overly cramped, disorganized, and overpowering. However, size isn't always the issue. Confusion is the cause. The lines are blurred by the TV in the bedroom, the laundry on the couch, and the mail on the table. and minds get blurry due to fuzzy lines. So I made a little attempt. I made a self-promise to myself that this would only be used for eating after clearing the dining table. Just meals, no mail, no laptop. Meals felt like a moment again all of a sudden. Just eating and being, without rushing or multitasking. More square feet are not necessary for your house. All it needs are more precise boundaries. Because they don't fight when every space has a voice. They're not in competition. Together they make your day go more smoothly. You may be thinking, I'd love to live like that, but mornings are the hardest for me. Noro's next behavior may then seem like a mild response. It begins with what you do the night before, not with the daylight. Noro's mornings were not hurried. She didn't go aimlessly in search of keys. In front of her wardrobe, she didn't groan. She didn't forget to eat breakfast and pour tea in a hurry. And the explanation was straightforward. Tonight, she got ready for tomorrow. I saw her spend only 10 minutes every night. She washed the teacup, put a glass of water near her bed, folded a handkerchief, and laid it gently on a chair, arranged her clothes, and carefully made sure every door was closed. It was a modest, silent ritual of reverence for the lady she would become in the morning. The mind is most vulnerable in the morning, she informed me. So I make room for me. That struck me as really lovely, since it made me consider my own mornings. Rushing to find socks, reheating the kettle, wondering where I put my phone, starting the day not with tranquility, but with catching up. And I realized that the day itself wasn't the source of the pandemonium. It originated from how I concluded the previous one. I gave it a try. Filling my water bottle before bed is the only thing. And it was waiting for me the following morning. Although it seemed insignificant, it had significance. It meant that even when I was too exhausted to give a damn, I took care of myself. Noro had discovered that. It's not discipline to prepare that way. It has nothing to do with control. It's about being nice to your aging body, your future self, and the part of you that want to wake up gently without panic, without coercion. We don't require more energy as we become older. More gentleness is what we need. Knowing that the following morning would be a little simpler is sometimes the sweetest present. Now, if you are moved by that thought, you may be even more moved by her last habit. Because feeling is more important than accomplishing. A habit that transforms a routine into something sacred, and a house into a home. I nearly missed it since it was so quiet. Noro cleaned the cup after we had finished our last cup of tea, dried it with a gentle cloth, and then made a brief, silent bow by pressing her hands together in front of it. What was she doing? I asked. With a smile, she replied, I'm thanking the cup for serving me today. I was stopped by that. Not because it was strange, but rather because it was so kind and compassionate. Nothing was considered a mere thing in Noriko's household. The chair, the slippers, the teacup. Everybody had a part to play. Everybody respected her. She stated to me, I once lived with very little, so now I don't keep things I don't use, but I always thank the ones that stay with me. Later that week, I had a look around my own house. I had saved a lot of items that I had never really valued. A pen I've used for years, a plate my grandmother gave me, and even the winter coat that keeps me warm. Nevertheless, I had never once paused to express my gratitude to them. Because Noriko's house was tidy, it didn't feel serene. Because it was full of kindness, not only towards humans, but towards everything that accompanied her throughout her life, it seemed serene. She used gratitude as a means of grounding herself, transforming routines into rituals, items into friends, and space into a haven. And I think a lot of us are genuinely searching for that. Meaning in even the tiniest things, not nothingness or perfection. As you fold a towel, switch out the lamp, or set your glasses on the table tonight, take a moment to say in a quiet voice, thank you for being with me today. Because your home and your heart may be held together by just one habit.